And then Tony started spinning nines and got close. And they're like, time's up. And everybody agreed. Everybody on the deck, no judges, no X Games. Keep the time going because we want this guy to make the 900 so that we can all say that we've made a 900. Like one of us made a 900.
Right.
That was like the first time I've ever seen every single person wanted him to make that. Crown. I always feel like crowns are so inconvenient. I feel like they would wobble off your head a lot. Just never seen a good crown, you know? And crowns are always exactly circular, and I don't think your head is. So I would want, like, you know, have your earpiece that's molded to your ear? I would want a crown that is molded to my head, just in case I need to kick some ass because I'm a king. I might need to slap a fucking... a peasant. I might need to slap a peasant into gear. And I want my fucking hat coming off. Sorry, my crown. Sorry, that's what I have to say at the start of the show. Thank you. We have a guest. Wait, sorry, Chris, you were going to say something before I introduce you?
Do you just think of a face to make every time, or is it just spontaneous?
Yeah, I just sort of wing it.
Okay.
At the beginning.
Chris Roberts, everybody, is here.
He's method. He was doing that for the whole weekend leading up to this.
Are we practicing that?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. I feel like it helps the guest feel calm about me singing. Because your face...
I was focused on him the whole time. I didn't even hear anything you said.
Yeah. It's good.
Like, this he's holding it.
Go team. Because I don't like being analyzed because it's kind of embarrassing. It's a tad stupid. I'll sing at the start of every show. That's funny. And now I'm like 70 shows deep. It's a bit stupid, really.
But it sets the mood, though.
Yeah, and I was going to change the lyrics so that I stop getting flagged on YouTube for being so aggressive with my mouth. That sounded good. Good for you, Jason. Fucking suck a dick, fucking idiot. But I thought I made one about cats and stuff and puppies. And I was like, maybe I should change it to that. But then I'd have to really, because when I had the song about puppies, it didn't really rhyme.
Yeah, nothing rhymes with puppies.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that.
You fucking with me?
What rhymes with puppies?
Duppies.
Guppies.
What's a fucking duppy?
Guppies.
Yuppies.
Yup. Do people use the word yuppie anymore?
Not really. That's what I'm saying.
Right. That's like, rad is kind of a word where, depending on who you are, when you say rad, I'm like, there was a heyday for you.
Yeah.
And you're still living in it.
Right. I've definitely said rad more in the last 5 years than yuppie.
Right, which tells you.
Which tells you something.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Chris, as a skateboarder who is in charge of the biggest skateboard podcast in the world and being a pro on the Cool Company, you're not just a pro skateboarder. You're a pro skateboarder for chocolate. So you're like a chocolate girl guy and all those guys. You're a part of that crew who don't usually talk. From my experience, they wouldn't be the host of a show.
Right.
How did you discover that you're going to be the talking guy who is also incredibly fresh in the tightest organization of skateboarding?
First of all, I don't even know how I got into the chocolate girl family. I'm not that cool. I'm not that fresh.
What do you mean you don't know how?
I'm just, I don't know. It's I wasn't one of the, top pros. You know what I mean? I consider myself like supporting cast.
Yeah,
You know
I
what
feel
I'm
you on that.
But I was never a talker. I was never. Grew up quiet, shy.
So how'd this happen?
I don't know.
How did the 9 Club start? Your idea or somebody else?
Kind of. Well, Mark Johnson, Kenny Anderson.
Yep.
We had a little company called the Back 40.
Right.
We do funny little skits, whatever. Mark Johnson,
Yeah.
Kenny, funny dudes. And I was like, oh, let's do a podcast because podcasts were coming into the scene,
Yeah.
And couldn't get them together. It was just,
Right.
me and Mark did like 3 of them, and Kenny didn't even come to one of them.
Not one.
Not one.
Great idea, Chris, but I'm not going to make it.
Kenny's here, he's over, it was just.
Which you would have sensed, this is not a good co-host for me.
I was like, this is going to be a headache.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be a
Nightmare. And plus I was traveling, so I had all the gear.
You were doing remote 9 Clubs.
Yes.
And he still couldn't make it.
Back 40 stuff. It wasn't
sorry,
9 Club
sorry.
yet.
Okay.
So I'm traveling with this, microphones and little soundboards and going over to Mark's house and setting up little GoPros. And I'm like, dude, this is going to be hell. I can't. And I wanted to do them consistently.
Yeah.
Consistency is the key.
Yes, you knew what it took.
Yeah. And Roger, co-owner of the 9 Club, he helped start it with me.
Okay.
He's like, dude, I can help you guys. And I'm like, this isn't probably not going to work, And so he's like, well, let's just do something ourselves. And he lived down the street from me.
That makes it good.
So we were like, okay, cool. And of course,
Got
I
2
talked,
people that are committed.
Yeah.
Getting there.
I mean, he's a workhorse. I'm a workhorse.
Okay.
So, and then he was like, and I was like, well, let me just tell these guys, just out of respect. I'm like, hey, this is maybe not going to work. I might start something with Roger, And they were like, oh yeah, do it.
We weren't going to show up anyway. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with you doing it if I didn't show up to the first 2 that you had. I'd be
much.
like, man, maybe I'm not the guy.
Right.
So how do you find? Yeah.
We set up GoPros. We did kind of like a pilot.
Oh, okay.
Kelly Hart, he lived there.
So it was more that you had people that you knew that were close by, and you're like, can you guys make it on a regular?
Oh, we used all of our friends for the beginning of the show.
Oh, okay.
Episode 1, Kelly Hart, he lived there. Episode 2, like Daniel Castillo, Joey Brzezinski, like all these skaters who are our friends.
Yeah.
So we're like, let's just try to keep this going. Gain momentum. At first, I think people were like, wow, this is skaters talking.
Yeah.
And that's why I came up with the tagline, like the show that has skaters talking.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was ironic.
It is. I told you on your show, it's
Yeah.
very rare that skateboarders, especially elite skateboarders, there's skateboarders that kind of good, and then there's the upper level.
Right.
And they just they become a little like Axl Rose, where it's just like, I don't show up to anything.
Yeah, I mean, when's the last time you heard like Lance Mountain or Mike Vallely talk for like 4 hours straight?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not an easy thing to do.
Fuck.
Tony's trying to get Lance on Hawk versus Wolf, and Lance is great friends with Tony Hawk, and we can't get him.
What?
He's been booked 3 times, and he's like, I can't make it. 3 times.
Lance Mountain stood Tony Hawk up.
I don't want to say stood up. He's just busy, and he thinks that the drive is crazy. He drove down for my 50th, but not to the ramp because he didn't want to skate the ramp because he's a pool skateboarder and he didn't want to have a shit session. Because it's forever this way. This is what we are. We're like this.
Right.
Danny and Colin came to my birthday with no pads. They just watched. I'm like, guys, I want to.
This is Danny Way.
The whole point of my 50th birthday and inviting all of you so we could. I wanted to have a session. Like, remember, we did the same. We were doing this like 20 years ago, and now we're all old as fuck on the ramp. Crazy, right?
Right.
And you're not like trying to make a documentary out of it.
No.
Right.
Yeah, it was
Just hanging out.
Just hanging out.
You could. No one was going to film you, but
I want to see Danny Way skate in real life. I want to see
Right.
Colin McKay skate.
I skated with Colin twice last week.
Ooh,
He's skating again.
love that.
Yeah, but it's hard to when you take a big break and then you get back into vert. You're really bad, and you've got to be safe. So you can't be. Well, I used to do this, so I'll just start doing that again. Like you're asking for it, so
Right.
it's hard for the ego to show up and just do a couple of little things that you wouldn't even attempt those because they're too basic. And now he's falling off on backstairs all day.
Right.
Because that's what happens when you don't do it for a long time. And it's a little bit humiliating. I get it.
Street skating, you don't skate street for like a week or even a month. And well, in my case, months. And then you go to a skate park. It's like, I don't even want to be here.
Do you skate way less because of the 9 Club?
Yeah. It's taken over.
You do a lot of shows, right?
Yeah.
You don't just do one podcast.
We film about 3, sometimes 4 shows a week.
And you have a Twitch thing and you have, is it 3 shows?
3 shows.
3 separate shows.
Yeah.
And one of them you do 4 a week.
So Mondays is 9 Club, which is brand new guests. You came on the 9 Club.
Okay.
Fridays, every other Friday, we changed it now. It's like stop and chats. We call them stop and chats. Returning guests come in,
Okay.
kick it, shoot the shit.
Mike V was on recently.
Yeah, Mike V.
One of those
Exactly.
capacities, yeah, right.
And then our experience shows live Wednesday nights. And it's kind of like just a round table, play some skate videos, just talk.
But that's not
Bullshit.
a podcast.
We put it on our podcast.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
but I'm always curious because like when you came on the show, you were like, I'm always curious of like the aftermath of coming on our show. Because it's like, it's just like, I want to know from like, because we hear it sometimes, we're like, oh good, yeah, I'm still getting comments and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's like over like the top, like Christian Asoy. We were just with Professor Schmidt, Paul
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yep.
And he was like, oh my God, I still get comments and people still hit me up about my episode and stuff like that. And because I think in skateboarding, there's not that, like, there's not something like that, like the 9 Club.
No, not at all.
So
it's
I'm
a
interested.
difficult thing to achieve
Right.
to make it good. Yeah, you guys know everything there is in skateboarding, but do you know how to? It's not skateboarding; it's podcasting. You need to
Right.
know how to talk and be amusing the whole time.
Right.
You need to not think about yourself so much. So it's like, can skateboarders do that?
But like when you came on our show, we got like great, like the comment, love Ellis is the best, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah, I
and I'm
got
like,
that.
okay, how was it for like you when you came on? I'm sure you got like DMs and stuff like that.
To me, it's probably the highlight of social media. To me, is it's people being excited about me skateboarding.
Right.
Because I'm like, really? That's odd. I feel like people are more impressed by my skateboarding now than ever. I'm like, I'm not very good anymore.
Yeah.
But people are like, man, you fucking feel you're still in there doing it. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. That's awesome. But I feel like it's a lot more. Everybody's more exciting in skateboarding about your skateboarding, about your love for skateboarding. Just seems like everyone's a lot more appreciative and not so picky.
Right.
Like you're a vert guy, you're old as fuck, you're talking about gay shit. I'm like, all these things seem like they would not work well in a skateboard podcast, but I didn't get anything but positive stuff.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Still do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good. I mean, to me, especially because I know the 9 Club. I when I was on Sirius, I heard of it. I knew podcasting was the future of this kind of entertainment, and I was like, check you guys out. Like you made it. Like you're doing it. And then I thought, you guys are the cutting edge of skateboarding. The last thing you would want is some old washed up guy who isn't Tony Hawk on there. And I'm like, you guys are pumped. You guys are excited about having me there. You guys have also interviewed a lot of other people where I would have thought the same thing. I put myself in a category with Bud Boyle.
Right.
Like Bud Boyle was a legendary vert skater in his time, but it is not his time anymore. And most skateboarders don't fucking care anymore.
Or don't even know who Bob Boyle is.
And I'm like, there was an era of skateboarders that didn't know where he was fucking king. Like,
yeah,
he was top 3 in every contest without fail.
But I think it's important to have guys like that on the show, not only for their past, but what they're doing in skateboarding now.
Right.
And that guy pretty much runs one of the biggest skateboarding distributions in skateboarding.
Which is
and it's
also
like,
crazy.
Cool. I think skaters need to know that these companies are run by skaters.
Yeah.
Even if they're not a fan of that company.
Yeah.
It's like, dude.
It's such a big deal because I was there for the corporate takeover.
Right.
Like I was sponsored by skateboarders, and then all of a sudden there was this thing where you could get sponsored by people that weren't skateboard people, and they were usually offering way more money than skateboard people were. And it was, I didn't think about it. I just was like, wait, what? Monster's going to give me fucking $5,000 a month? Holy shit. Yeah, I'll ride for Monster. How could there be a bad thing about that?
Right.
Just not. Same when I worked for ESPN. It was just, nobody here skates. Nobody here cares about skateboarding, but you're in charge of displaying skateboarding to the world. It doesn't add up. I feel awkward about it.
Right.
It's got this weird feeling where I'm working for people where I'm like, you're not invested in us, but you're calling the shots.
Right.
Oh, man, Ellis May here, bold as hell, talking about keeps. About 35 is when I started to see a little bit thin right here on the top, and to know that, if I had a time machine and I could have just gone to keeps, that I could have kept my hair. But I don't have a time machine.
You're a cautionary tale.
Yeah, don't do this, guys.
No, it's not a myth. It's a fact.
Girls don't like it.
There are 2 FDA-approved medications that can prevent hair loss. Keeps offers both of them and has more 5-star reviews than any of its competitors. It's easy, convenient virtual doctor consultations and medications delivered straight to your door every 3 months. Low cost and 24/7 care and support.
If you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/Ellis to receive your first month of treatment for free. That's keeps.com/Ellis to get your first month free, everybody. Keeps.com/Ellis.
We are here today talking to you about AthleticGreens. I always try things to try and keep myself healthy. I like snacks, but I also want to live a long time, and I'm kind of dumb. I need shortcuts. AthleticGreens, pretty good shortcut. It's a whole bunch of vitamins and stuff. You just scoop the powder, mix it into water, you drink it, and you already got one shortcut for the day. Doesn't give me the bubble guts or anything.
No,
If you're
right.
so dumb that you don't know how to put the scoop in the water and stir it around, then you might be in trouble. But
Yeah.
if you
this
got a little
dummy
more,
can do it,
yeah.
anybody can. One tasty scoop of AG1 contains 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients, including a multivitamin, multi-mineral, probiotic greens, superfood blend, and more in one convenient daily serving. The special blend of high-quality, bioavailable ingredients in a scoop of AG1 work together to fill the nutritional gaps in your diet, support energy and focus, aid with gut health, no bubble guts here, and digestion, and support a healthy immune system, effectively replacing multiple products or pills with one healthy and delicious drink. To make it easy for you, Athletic Greens is going to give you an immune-supporting free 1-year supply of vitamin D
Get that
and
D.
5 free travel packs with your first purchase if you visit athleticgreens.com/JES. Do you have that? It's a little bit unusual. It's not always the end of the website that we give you here on the show. This one's, we're going to want to remember, it's athleticgreens.com/JES to take control of your health and give AG1 a try.
I've told the story where Sal got into an argument with one of the guys that ran X Games, like the boss's boss. Really nice guy, would always be cool to all of us. But he got into a heated argument about Bob Burnquist not being a talented athlete, like as compared to a Derek Jeter. And Sal was like, "You are fucking out of your mind." And it got heated because Sal was offended on behalf of all of us,
Who's Sal Barbier?
Yeah, no, Sal Masakela.
Sal Masakela.
Yeah, not even a fucking like a pro skateboarder, but a guy that has been in the
Oh my
scene from the
God.
start
Legend.
and was defending us.
Right.
And it was just crazy to know that the guy that calls all the shots for action sports, for these vert dudes or park guys or whatever it is, he doesn't think that you're actually good at sport.
That's
He thinks Derek Jeter is.
crazy.
I'm like, look, I'm not saying Derek Jeter isn't talented. I'm just saying so is Bob Burnquist, equally as talented.
Right.
And just to know his mainstream mind was like, what? You guys are fucking children. We're talking about Derek Jeter over here. And I'm like,
And out of all the
Oh my
guys
God.
at ESPN, that was the guy that they picked to run the X Games.
yeah.
Imagine what the rest of them thought.
Oh, I worked with him.
Yeah.
It was worse.
I wonder what the younger generation of skaters or just action sports athletes, what do they think about Jason's generation? Because I do understand the point of view of it's not your era anymore, but
Right.
late 70s into almost like early 90s, to me, like if you're like a rock and roll person, bands that were around late 60s, early 70s, that was the explosion.
Right.
That was the thing you're always going to want. You're never going to get tired of those stories, even if those bands aren't, even if you don't want to go see the fucking Foghat play live.
Right.
Do you get that impression that kids are interested in like the initial volley of skateboarding in the world?
I think it's 50-50. I think a lot of, listen, whenever a kid comes up to me that's like even 18 and younger, and they're like, dude, I watched the 9 Club. It's like, I've gotten like 7-year-old kids, like 10-year-olds, like, I love the 9 Club. And I'm like, whoa, you're not our demographic,
Right.
I would think. But I'm always shocked because like, I think if you love something, the yearning to learn about the history is there. And I don't think that comes right away sometimes for some kids. Like, I didn't care about the history when I first started skating.
Yep.
Like, it took longer.
Why would you? You're on chocolate.
Well, I mean, I started skating when I was 15.
Yeah.
15, 20. I got sponsored later, but I didn't really I didn't care about before.
Yeah.
It took when I got older to like start, oh shit, Lance Mountain and all these, I think
it's how long our sport's been around, because I've been to some surf award ceremonies, and the best guy, the coolest guy, is praising some 80-year-old dude who caught waves on a fucking big log or something. And he's like, this guy's the guy. And I remember being in the crowd going, oh, skateboarding doesn't do that. Like, the newest guy is not going to be like, oh man, I would all to fucking Tony Elva. You know, like you're not going to bring his name up. You don't care that he invented the kick turn. You didn't even know he invented the kick turn.
Right.
It's also got to be weird when nowadays there's like fucking 5-year-olds doing 1080s on flat ground.
Right.
Like it seems like kids have raised the bar a lot just to get sponsored and noticed.
Yeah, but they are. I don't know how everybody is. I'm only speaking from my experience, but there's a lot of little kids that are at Tony's ramp, and they respect the elders. You know, like it's a different time. In my prime, most people we weren't accepting of each other. So why would we be respectful to our elders when we don't even really like the guy that's like a year off us?
Yeah.
It just seemed like, especially like the gay thing, like skateboarders would have hated me for that. But now it's like, you know, good for you, man. You're living your life. I'm like, what? Skateboarding? Really?
Yeah.
Because that's not what you were trying to act like. And then you've got a lot to do with it. Your show has a lot to do with it because you're the cutting edge of skateboarding and you have us on. And you're like, hey, these guys are a part of the scene. Like, we're all skateboarders here. And I feel like it's like Transworld was at one point, where whatever they put in the mag, that's what everybody likes. It seems to be what's popular, so that's where everybody's going. These days, it seems like everybody was good at whatever they did, and everyone can appreciate it now.
Yeah. I think kids are going to be inquisitive, though. You know, so I think it's like the kids that skate the Tony's ramp.
Yeah,
maybe they've never heard of Jason Ellis, but they meet you now. They're going to go do their homework. They're going to go home and be like, oh, damn, this guy, oh, shit.
I remember in music where I just listened to a couple of bands and I thought every other band sucked. And that's how I was going to live my life.
Right.
And then I accidentally, because I was so into Metallica or whatever, there was, like a Jimi Hendrix could slide in there, and then Jimi Hendrix was doing a cover of a Bob Dylan song. So now I'm listening to Bob Dylan. I'm like, oh, shit. There was like a whole bunch of geniuses before Metallica. But if it wasn't for loving Metallica that much, I wouldn't have given all these other guys a shot. And then now, like what I'm into now, it's just so much broader. I appreciate everybody because good music is good music. And it took me decades to swallow that because I would just be like, why would you listen to fucking Green Day or when there's Metallica exists, you dumbass? Like you're just listening to some poor mediocre shit. And it's like, it's not poor mediocre. It's their stuff and they're doing it their way. Like, and some people like that, believe it or not, Jason, more than Metallica.
Right.
And it's okay. They're okay for doing that.
Yeah.
And skateboarding taught me that, like the criticalness, like to be critical of everything. And now, I feel like that did work, but it's also a relief to just accept everybody.
Yeah.
That guard is hard work.
Right. I mean, just growing up as a skater in our generation, I mean, that was the landscape was to hate.
Right?
For sure. I
Like
mean, we
you
would
and
hate-
I would not talk to each other.
maybe if I seen you at a trade show.
We'd nod.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I have several
But we
100 street friends where it's been that our whole life.
Right. But if we got into a same room together, we'd probably be. I mean, how many times does that happen when you're like, dude, fuck that dude, bro? You know, you're judging him off his skating.
Yeah.
You meet him, you're like, I can't believe I even talk shit about this dude. He's the best dude ever.
Dude, I got to America. My favorite skateboarder was Jason Jesse. I would say one of my least favorite skateboarders was Ken Park. Do you remember him?
I know the name wasn't.
He was a bit chubby, Vision Streetwear guy. Always had all the Vision Streetwear shit on. He was good at all different kinds of hand plants, but I just didn't like the way he skated. Thought he was a fucking kook.
Okay.
I come to America. Jason Jesse apparently called a black guy the N-bomb and got punched off the side of the ramp. And I'm like, wait, what? What? Heartbroken.
Right.
I'm like, the guy I like is a fuck. I don't want to be that guy's fan anymore.
Yeah.
And then I meet Ken Park and he's just the nicest dude ever.
Yeah.
I'm like, this guy's a fucking sweetheart. And I'm like, I hated you without knowing you for like a solid 10 years because of the way your knee buckled when you did lean tails. Like I was like,
Yeah.
this guy's disgusting. There's no way you could be a decent person with that kind of lean tail. Like it's just so stupid when I think about it.
I know. But I think it's just judgment, right?
Yeah.
Don't judge a book by its cover.
Do you think it's insecurities that skateboarders originated that with? Where do you think it came from?
That's a good question. I don't know. It's interesting because I think it was just in our nature. I think it was just the landscape. Everybody around us was just like, this dude, fuck that dude, blah, blah, blah. That dude's style. It was all about style and stuff like that. So, but I think as we get older, that leaves.
But it seems like, is there a generation of skateboarders now that are still very critical?
I'm sure.
Okay.
I'm sure.
Okay.
I don't think that's gone away.
Okay.
I don't know.
Is it just, I mean, a total outsider perspective,
Yeah.
is it the individual nature of the sport? Is you're just like a man alone or a woman alone trying to make your way in the world? So you're just like, fuck that guy, fuck that guy, fuck that guy. Like, I don't know if people who grow up on a football team with 45 teammates
Right.
are so inclined to pick out individuals and be like, I don't like that guy's shirt, fuck him. Or maybe they are. I'm just working backwards from you say the way that it was in the 90s. I'm like, well, yeah, right. And whenever you've always said that, I'm like, yeah, I get that. That makes sense. There's obviously a reason for it. Is it because you're all a bunch of lone wolves to begin with?
We're lone wolves, but we have our crews.
Right.
So I think we're definitely influenced by who we're hanging out with and
Right.
what type of skating we like.
Sure.
Like we're from different worlds, vert, street.
But if
I
you've
can't
got a-
relate to you on vert,
Right.
but I can relate to you as a skateboarder,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Same.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always thought it was, you made a choice to do it this way and because you were clued in on it. And if you don't do it that way, then you're not clued in on it. So you don't have any clue.
Right.
So
Sure.
why am I talking to you? You know,
I get
like it's childish as fuck, but I'm trying to recall like when there was certain times, and crew is a perfect thing there, Chris, because
Right.
I have had that where, you know, Red Drag, Kane Gale and Colin and all those guys. I mean, I'm a vert dude, but I was still cool.
Mhm.
You know, like Rob Dyrdek and shit was my friend. And Rob Dyrdek doesn't say hello to a lot of vert dudes, but he would say hello to Jason because word got out that Jason, when he skates vert, that they don't even care about, he's doing it right. He's doing it in a correct manner so he can be accepted.
Right. Right.
So, and then because I'm getting accepted by the coolest people, I want to be a tighter unit with those guys. So if you're completely out of that crew, you get shined by all of us. Like we go, this guy, right? And they go, yeah, right. And then I look back on it where I'm like, man, you are an asshole.
It's high school.
Yeah, okay, I
It's
didn't
high
go,
school
but
shit,
yeah.
Basically. But you flip side of that, look at the camaraderie of skateboarding.
Right.
Like even in the Olympics, it's like we all gather around the winner and hold them up on our shoulders,
Right.
like as a community, and the people who are there in the you don't see the swimmers from all different countries coming over and hoisting up the
yeah.
winner.
Good point.
Skaters do that.
All right.
You know, it's
It's way past country, isn't it? Because
Oh.
people are,
it's
it's like you won for us.
Yeah, it's
Sure, you won
it's-
for your country too, but mainly you won for us.
It's skateboarding.
Yeah.
Like we're all in this together. And I think it's a huge thing, skateboarding, but it's such a small community.
Yeah.
So small.
I wonder if that has any. The first time I ever saw everybody get together and want somebody to be successful was when Tony did the 900 at X Games, where I felt like people were trying to win best trick and they were all out for each other. But when Tony started almost making that, the time limit ran out and everybody who was going to win, like it was $10,000 up for grabs. And the person that Colin McKay had the trick, he did it and he won best trick.
Right.
And then Tony started spinning nines and got close and they're like, time's up. And everybody agreed. Everybody on the deck, no judges, no X Games. Keep the time going because we want this guy to make the 900 so that we can all say that we've made a 900. Like one of us made a 900.
Right.
That was like the first time I've ever seen every single person wanted him to make that.
You were there?
Yeah.
Wow.
I just showed some fans sent us a video for Hawk versus Wolf where, because I was announcing on the side of the ramp for that, and he falls off and walks past me, and I go to the camera. I could see it in his eyes. He's gonna make the next one.
Okay.
And then he made it.
You made it.
Yeah. But
How was that energy?
And then when I ran, like he made it and I ran to tackle him and 200 people met me in the middle. Like I was almost there and then all of a sudden he just disappeared and fucking was up in the air. We were all running and screaming to pick him up and be like, well, you fucking did it. Like we did it. It was almost like.
That's crazy because that's like history right there.
Yeah.
History.
Yeah. Yeah. I was tripping because I forgot because I hit my head so many times. When I saw that video, I was like, fuck yeah, I was on the. And I called it. I didn't even know that. Like I don't recall that. I just saw it on video. That's the only. I know it happened because it's video.
Right. Right.
Like that's for sure me. That's my mouth.
Shout out to our friends at Good Chop, America's online butcher.
Shout out, Good Chop. Shout out.
I actually got into a little Good Chop this weekend. Cooked up some scallops.
You did?
Yeah.
Wow.
Me, of all people. I did it.
Yeah.
Cooked it for my girlfriend. Mine was blown.
Wow.
She didn't even know I could do that.
Did you have some hot scallop sex afterwards?
Maybe.
Wow, there you go, you guys. Good Chop gets you laid.
That's right. You can get your flexible monthly subscription plan for high-quality American meat and seafood, and maybe a little sexy fringe benefits will be coming your way on the side. I love the Good Chop stuff. I'm very particular when it comes to my meats.
I've heard that about you.
And you can get $100 off on your first 3 boxes. That is a significant savings for some high-quality meats and seafood from local family U.S. farms and independent ranchers that you and your family are going to enjoy.
Good Chop, baby. Goodchop.com/Ellis100 and use code Ellis100 and you get $100 off your first 3 boxes. Dang.
That's right. Goodchop.com/Ellis100 and use code Ellis100 to get $100 off your first 3 boxes. Good Chop, America's online butcher.
Shot through the heart. It's Upstart.
You know what's worse than paying bills?
That singing?
And paying bills for stuff that you got a long time ago, and now you're not even like really paying for the thing. You're paying for the interest on the thing that you got a long time ago, whether it's a high interest loan or credit card debt. Oh my goodness, it is such an awful, infuriating, scary, crippling feeling to know that you make the payment every month and the bills, they just don't go away. That's why you got to look into consolidating that high interest debt or all of those credit card bills into one payment that you can handle. You can start to see some financial daylight. Upstart knows you're more than just your credit score, so rather than looking at your credit score alone, their model considers other factors like your income, employment, and other information provided in your loan application to find a smarter rate for your loan. You can check your rate without impacting your credit score in just 5 minutes for loans between $1,000 and $50,000.
Find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/Ellis. That's upstart.com/Ellis. Don't forget to use the URL and let them know that we sent you, mate. Loan amounts. Oh, you can do it.
Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Go to upstart.com/Ellis.
How is doing the podcast with Tony?
It's awesome.
Yeah,
It's fun.
It seems like you guys generally have a good time, and it's enjoyable to watch. I like it.
Yeah, I think I am obviously. I feel very privileged to be a part of it, and to I look up to him in so many ways, and to be on a show with him, I'm like, wow, what a fucking crazy thing you've got yourself in here. This is amazing.
Right.
But he is also a friend of mine, and he likes what I have to bring to podcasting. Like, he's like, you're a talker. I believe in this. So I think he's excited to hear what I'm going to say. And I'm excited because he tells stories about shit that happened in the 80s that I don't know that means a lot to me.
Right.
So I'm always very interested in whatever he's saying.
And you could pull stuff out of him because you're interested in what he's saying.
And he's different now. Like, when we first started on Sirius a long time ago, he was talking to a younger crowd. So he couldn't really indulge people into real stuff.
Right,
Right. He had a drink, or if he got drunk one time, he'll tell it.
Yeah.
He wouldn't say that.
He wouldn't.
10 years ago, he just couldn't, because it was like 10-year-olds were listening to him.
On Sirius?
I split from that show and did my own show because my show started to get fans. So they know that I'm on his show, which is what I started on.
Yeah.
So they start calling, asking, because this is right when I started, I was extra offensive.
Okay.
I was just always talking about whatever I thought was funny, which was usually like, 5-dick guy. I mean, it was someone's got 2 pussies, and it's stuff where someone goes, Tony, my name's Johnny, and I'm 12, and I really want to know how to do this trick, and he tries to help him. And then someone goes, Ellis, huge fan, fucking 5 cocks and pussies, for coming on dogs. And I'm like, what? Dude, you can't say that here. And Tony's trying to be nice.
Yeah.
He never said, hey, this isn't going to work. I was like, this is obviously not going to work.
Right.
You're trying to do something else, and I'm ruining it. Because my show started to get really big, and people were just calling the Tony Hawk show to do Jason Ellis bits. And I'm like, it's not. You can't do that.
Would you say the calls were like 50-50? Was like some for Tony, some for you?
Sometimes it was more.
It was for you.
Because they got weird about it. It wasn't a lot of fans, but those fans were hardcore.
Right.
So they were just calling in, trying to bro down with me. Hey, man, you're on with Tony Hawk. Remember you were talking about fucking that fat chick? And I'm like,
It's the wrong
not
show.
not now, man. Like, ask me a skateboard question.
Right.
And I was really trying to make that Jason Ellis show big, so it wasn't, once again, a little interest. I was like, I'm going. Like, they're like, are you good? And he's like, I'm good. I'm like, well, then I'm going to go for it. And Tony's that kind of guy. He's like, you've really got something here, dude.
Yeah.
You need to fucking push that.
Right.
And if you have to move to LA and not be on my show, I back you 100%. Like, he was telling the bosses, fuck yeah, Jason can leave the show. Like, as long as you're taking care of him, I'm happy.
Right.
So he really helped. He kind of orchestrated most of it.
Amazing. He's a great dude.
He really is.
Yeah.
I know he doesn't like it when you say it to him. He gets a bit locked up, but he's the most helpful person. He's done so much for skateboarding and still does. Like the critical stuff where he sits down with little kids,
right,
and goes, hey, man, I noticed you're trying to do, this, maybe try this. And if you do try it, I'll film you. So now you got like fucking 8-year-olds that are trying some trick, and Tony Hawk's telling them how to do it. And he's dropping in with them with his phone, following them. And then he's posted the video, and you got 9-year-olds that are getting Tony Hawk posts of their trick. I'm like, you make it. I told him that. There's a video of him and I, the first time I met him, I didn't meet him. He was just on the ramp next to me, and my parents were filming the contest. So I'm on the deck, and he's standing next to me, and I go, that's it. I didn't say anything to him. I'm just shitting myself on the deck because Tony Hawk is standing right next to me.
Right.
If Tony Hawk had said, hey, man, you working on that trick? Like, you want me to film it? I'd be like, are you fucking kidding me? He does that to people all the time.
Wow.
He's constantly doing that. For people.
I feel it too because he's come on our show a bunch.
Yeah.
And we even had like this little video game show for a little while. And we were like, hey, it'd be fun if you came up and played Tony Hawk Pro Skater. It was when the release was of the game. And, sure, he probably wants to come up and promote his game and, be on. But I also feel like, man, he's just coming up to like hook us up.
Yep.
Yeah. He's like down to like help skaters.
Yeah.
Like, skaters supporting skaters.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel. I'm like, Tony Hawk, he doesn't have to come up here and play fucking video games with us, but he's doing it because like he's down to like help.
Yeah.
And like support.
At all costs.
Right.
Because that dude's got a schedule.
Yeah.
And if he's driving up, that's like a lot of things that he didn't do that day. And he's okay with it because he knows he knows what's important.
Love that guy.
Yeah. Not much to not love about him.
Right.
I've never seen him do an asshole thing ever.
Really?
Yeah. And where it totally deserves it too.
You seem suspicious of that.
Well, I don't know. I think we all can be a little assholes sometimes, but
I mean, every now and then I've heard him say, I'm not really that cool with that guy because he did this, this, and this.
okay.
But
But he's not confronting him or
Nah,
telling
not
him
at
to
all.
his face. Right.
he just disappears on you, I think. And some of those reasons
There
are
he hasn't called me back.
really legitimate. I would have handled it differently.
Right.
I'm like, wow, that's it. That's your call on that one. Just, yeah, I'm not going to deal with that.
Would you have handled it differently back then or now?
Yeah, we're a little bit different now, probably. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it would still be something childish.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, hey, man, you fucking talking shit? You know?
Right.
Like, what's the deal? Seems pretty fucked up. These days, I copy Tony a lot. You know, like, he's helped me a lot with how to interact with things like that.
Mm.
You know, if someone's getting crazy, he's like, don't respond, man. Like, you're never going to get out of it if you don't. And I'm like,
It's a
yeah, good
vicious
point.
cycle.
Yeah.
It's a vicious cycle.
Sometimes people just want to argue. They don't care about coming to a mutual agreement or anything. It's just, no, I want to fight you.
They want a reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I bet you a lot of people want a reaction from him more than most.
Right.
But he seems very seasoned and used to it, you know?
Yeah.
He's been there.
Are you guys going to do more like guest-based stuff? Because for a while you weren't. You guys were just one-on-one.
Yeah, because it was working.
Right.
And it still does.
Right.
So, which is an awesome thing to have as a guy that's been doing a lot of shows. You don't want to, I mean, you have guests all the time. It's not easy.
So hard as shit ever.
Right. And skateboarders, like trying to get them in the oh man, my bad. I forgot to tell you that I can't do it today. Like, that's all they do.
Oh, and some people think that we actually just stay there and they're like, hey, I'm down to come in today. And I'm like, you think I just sit in my chair waiting?
Wait, people, of course,
waiting for people to show up? What is it? What?
I'm ready now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on. Oh, I'm here already. We're already here. We're ready to go.
That's happened? They've
Yeah,
come to your house, to your studio?
but they've hit us up same day.
Yeah.
And we're like,
it doesn't
we
work
gotta
that way?
schedule this out. We're not, I'm not sitting in my chair right now, ready to go.
Right.
And not only are you not just sitting there all the time, you do a fair amount of preparation.
No.
You just know your shit.
No. We don't know. I don't know shit.
Help me help you.
I don't know shit.
I mean, it does, depending on who you're talking to, that does help. Like, I don't want to know. If I already know, I don't want to ask.
I don't want to, right. So
I'm very intrigued if I don't know.
It's 50-50, right? So we do have like a couple bullet points, right? I have a couple bullet points.
Right.
It's a lot of time. Listen, it's skateboarding. We can bullshit together. And
Right.
I don't need to know everything. I want to learn.
Right.
And I think that's why the show worked. Before you came on the show, Roger was the co-host. He was sitting in Jerron's seat.
Okay.
He had some stuff that he had to deal with. So he kind of he wanted to do more back end stuff as well.
Okay.
But he's an encyclopedia. He knows everything.
Okay.
So I felt at the time, I'm kind of like the dumb guy.
Yeah. That's how I do it.
I want to know stuff.
Tully's the one with the information.
Right. And that was Roger. Like everything. Oh no, those bearings were not, they were oiled with, the WD-4. Everything.
Yeah.
He knows about everything. And I was just kind of like, okay, well, I'm just the dumb dude who kind of wants to know everything.
Yeah.
And I may not ask the smartest questions, but they're genuine questions that I want to know.
Well, I've
And
done a lot of
hopefully our
interviews,
listeners
dude. I
wanna
feel
know.
like you have a great show. I mean, I already knew that before I walked in, but I felt like that was one of the better shows I've ever been a part of.
I feel like you killed it. I feel like you came on the show and just went, which is the best shows because I don't have to guide. You know, I'm sure you've had guests on the show where you're just like, it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
pulling teeth.
Oh, yeah.
And you're just sitting there like, I got nothing left
Yeah.
for this guy.
We've had many of those.
Yeah.
Not anymore because we
Yeah.
pick the guests now, but
Right.
every now and then Sirius would just sort of push people on us
Mm.
where we don't know anything about them and they don't want to share anything about themselves. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this guy's booked for an hour.
And I think that's an important part of podcasting is actually being genuinely interested
Yeah.
in who you're interviewing.
I
We
feel
just had a
like-
discussion the other night. We filmed a show and then we were like, oh, what about this person? What about this person? And they looked at me. I was like, I don't really know if I'm interested in that, in finding out more about that
Yep.
person. So I'd maybe not have him on the show.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend you have Martin Lawrence on the 9 Club
Martin Lawrence?
based on our experience. Yeah,
Yeah, that's-
Comedian.
Yeah.
yeah,
He's funny as hell.
Yeah, he wasn't.
he has
No,
been. He has been at times.
Really?
Yeah,
He either just received a message about a loved one that passed away, or he might have been on some stuff to keep him sedated.
Okay.
or he might have gotten some really bad news about a loved one, which forced him to take something
Oh.
that
Yeah.
made him sedated. In addition to his deep grief.
Wow.
It was tough.
And I'm sure you were genuinely interested
I
in Martin
fucking went
Lawrence.
for it so hard. I think in the very end, I finally got like a laugh out of him, and I think we were all like,
Yeah,
yeah.
Right, right.
He
yeah, we got
I
some
think-
smoke. We're
I
rubbing
think he
sticks
was-
together here.
I think
Yeah.
he was listening to that one,
Yeah.
you know, like it was fucking crazy. And he had all these people with him too in the room, so it was just this odd.
Was
I'm like,
this
are
on-
these guys gonna jump me? Like, what's going on here? Why are they all acting so
this
fucking
serious or
hard?
serious?
Nah, it's serious.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, those guys. That kind of era has gone for us.
Right, right.
Like, if we don't know you, we're probably not gonna have you on.
Yeah.
We try, you know. It's
Has
just-
Tony been on this show?
Nah.
What?
I don't know. It seems weird
Why?
because then it's just gonna turn into Hawk versus Wolf with Tully and Kevin.
I'm sure these guys would love it.
Yeah, I'll start doing armpit farts.
We,
at him.
we,
Oh,
we-
wow, I'll book
yeah.
him right now. Fuck. I didn't know we had that going for us. Tony, have you seen Kevin's armpit farts?
we talked about maybe doing a thing down by Tony's.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I've talked
I
about
want to make him
them
come up here.
coming down and skating with us
Yeah.
because Tony can
That'd be cool.
help you learn how to skate.
And he could film you watching.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he will. He will
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He will do that.
So you don't have many skaters on this show.
Mm-mm.
Mm.
You're the only one.
Fuck, why, dude? It's weird. Okay.
Because I'm gonna ask. Because if I really know you,
Right.
I don't want to interview you like a fucking skateboarder. I want to know about your life.
Yeah.
And skateboarders don't want to know. They don't want to let anyone know about any bumps in the road.
Right. Right.
And all I want to know is the bumps in the road.
Right.
You know, like Danny was gonna come on,
Okay.
but he can't
Yeah.
because I'm not just gonna ask about what's it like to invent skateboard tricks.
Mhm,
You know, it's
mhm.
gonna go deep.
Right.
You're gonna get weird about it for a second, maybe
Right.
maybe the whole time. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, you know, what are we gonna? I mean, you're the host of the 9 Club. You're a host. You've done a lot of other things besides skateboard. I'm not gonna ask you like, man, how hard is it to do a nollie? Like, I don't fucking
You
know
don't
or care.
Right. And
Like,
I don't
I
even
know you're
care
really
to
good.
talk about it.
Right.
Right.
And people that are listening, these are not a lot of hardcore skateboard listeners.
Mhm.
They just want to know, how did you get here? You know,
Right.
like, what's it like where you are being
Yeah.
a skateboarder that's the host of the 9 Club and did all these other things to get you where you were? That's what people want to know.
What's it
I
like
think.
having a
sure.
signature belt?
Signature belt.
Right.
I've got a signature belt. Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
Right now, it's out available right now.
Well, it's our 9 Club.
Oh, it's a 9 Club one.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got one of those.
Oh,
Oh.
Yeah, they give good stuff. We
That's
fucked
nice.
up.
yeah.
We don't
No,
have.
we don't have.
He
gotta
gave
get-
us a box of like. He
I'm
gave
not
me a
gonna-
box of like stuff that I would wear.
I'm not going to get anything.
Got some hot sauce. Helps up to a book.
I give you a skateboard, but I feel like that's so stupid.
You probably got a couple of them.
You probably know a guy.
But that's interesting. You were saying that because I think podcasting, listen, skateboarding, it's a small niche
Yeah.
industry, right?
Yeah.
And so like when you have like Danny Ways on the show or people, you know what I mean? it's an interesting battle of what you want to talk about versus what they want to talk about or not want to talk about.
Right.
And then you get the comments like, you didn't talk about this.
Right.
Why didn't you talk about that? Chris didn't ask these questions. We're like, yeah, I mean, there's a reason why, like we obviously talked about this before we did the show. It's kind of this double-edged sword.
I'll give you one. Perfect example. Mitchie Brusco, one of the greatest vert skaters to ever live.
Love Mitchie.
Really good guy. I went on his podcast the other day, and he just sort of slipped a little thing about his childhood. And I went to ask him a bit more, and he's like, I'm not sure I'm ready to talk about that. And I thought immediately, I want you on my show to talk about that.
Right.
That's going to be a great interview because it's fucking heavy, and it's such a Cinderella story of you survived, you got out of it, and look at you now.
Right.
But he's not ready to talk about that bit.
So you're not ready to have him on your
I'm
show?
not ready to have him on the show. Because
Right.
I can't. I know the bit that makes you tick. And everybody else needs to know about that bit that makes you tick.
Yeah.
Because that's the biggest thing I bring to the table. It's like I've done all these things that were incorrect. I've made some terrible choices in my life from my childhood and being a frustrated kid that was just on a path of destruction. But I turned it around.
Right.
How did you turn it around? Because there's people that are listening that have been on heroin, that have had depression and lost loved ones and felt like giving up. And I've had that. And I felt like giving up, but I didn't.
Right.
And here I am. Those are the stories that are important to me on this show because you might not understand what Mitchie Brusco can do on a skateboard because you don't skate.
Right.
But if I just tell you that he's one of the best in the world and that it wasn't just delivered to him, he didn't just show up and get all the free shit and everyone was like, yay, and you just get to skateboard forever. Nah, it's not like that. There's like a bunch of war. He went through a lot of shit.
Right.
Shit that most people would crack and give up. But he didn't. So it tells you, the listener, I need to not give up. I need to do this. Look at these guys shining and listen to their backstory of there were times there where you could look at them and go, you have no chance. You are not going to make it.
I think like maybe our show's a little different because it's actually celebrating the skateboarder and their career and like, sure, the hardships too. I mean, some of our best episodes are when the guest is super, honest and talks about alcoholism or drug abuse and, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And those make for great episodes.
Yeah.
Because I think people can relate to it. It's like everybody deals with something, right?
Right.
And but then also there's the other stuff too. There's the accomplishments of what that person does, the video parts that they've done, the touring that they've done, the contests, and so there's so much more. If we don't talk about one little certain thing, there's 80 more things to talk about, right? But you're still not getting the full story. It's a balancing act, right?
Yeah.
So it's an interesting, because we get it all the time of the 9 Club of like, oh, you didn't ask this, you didn't talk about this, you didn't do this, and
Which
we're
is
like,
crazy because don't you usually talk to people for a long time?
yeah,
Like a really long
a normal
time?
episode's like 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
Yeah, these guys ain't playing.
No, I know.
No.
Well, Jason, I felt like with you, there can often be like 2 sets of elephants in the room. One is maybe there's public controversies or public rivalries that you're like, we're going to leave that alone. We know the guy doesn't want to talk about it. But then, okay, I'll put it this way. I know you used to do a bunch of cocaine. I'm pretty sure you didn't do it by yourself.
Yeah.
I've met a bunch of people that you're friendly with from when you were a skateboarder. I don't know if there's ever been an interview about, remember that time we were doing Blow? I don't know. It was probably some of those guys and not some of the other guys. But there's all the shit you guys would all in the room know about stuff that the
100%.
listener doesn't know you're talking about that would be a pretty spicy meatball in and of itself.
100%.
Yeah, right.
And that's the tough part is because we take breaks during the show.
Yeah.
We'll get up. They'll be like, oh, dude, that story I was telling right there.
Yeah.
This dude and this dude. And then they're
Right.
getting into the juicy
Here's
shit.
the good part.
And I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
like it's
We would have
totally-
really liked that. Yeah, that
but
would
it's
have been.
totally up to the guest.
Right.
It's like, am I just going to sit there and press the guest and then make the guest uncomfortable now?
Yeah.
And it's going to be uncomfortable now for the next hour and a half that we're sitting here.
And he's your skateboard friend.
Right.
You already explained it's a tight unit, and you're bringing out something to a guy where everyone else who's listening is going, I ain't going on the 9 Club.
That's the thing.
Chris is going to fucking open me up on there.
Yeah,
Right.
you could win the battle and lose the war.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I think having like your serious show, right? It's like you look at Howard Stern, it's like he's roasting people off the show, but then he has them on as a guest.
Right.
You know, and it's like, that's just that business and that world.
Yeah.
And it's all that open information that's pretty much out there, right? So that they could talk
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Skateboarding's so closed off.
It's so weird because if I interview a skateboarder, I just don't want to go there.
Right.
But if it's an actor, I'm like, what's up, man? Like, you ain't going to fucking share a little bit? Like, don't act like you ain't partied.
Yeah.
But if it's a skateboard guy, I interviewed Stevie Williams a long time ago. And Stevie, in the middle of the interview, said something about not smoking weed. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, man, I don't smoke. And I'm like, didn't I just smoke a blunt with you in the parking lot? What are we talking about here? And then I realized that that's what's happening. I'm like, oh, yeah, well, why would you smoke weed?
Right.
What the fuck am I doing right
You've got
now?
Red Bull.
I'm like, don't you have photos in magazines with a fucking blunt hanging out of your mouth? What are we doing? Like, everyone knows you smoke weed. I was so confused.
Yeah.
And I thought I knew him enough where it was, he'd be like, yeah, fuck yeah, we smoke weed.
Yeah.
But as soon as he locked up on that, I was like, this is the worst interview ever.
Well, that's
Never going to go anywhere
But
now.
it's exactly right. It locks the interview then.
Yeah.
It locks it.
I was like, wow, so Philadelphia, you grew up there because now I'm fucked. You've ended my fucking career on this interview. I have nothing to say.
Right. I think one of the breakthrough shows that I did, because like some skateboarders make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I joke around, right? I'm always, they're like, oh, they're talking about this. I'm like, well, how much did you make?
Yeah.
And they're like, I can't answer that.
Right.
You know? But I always throw it in there because I think it's funny.
Has anyone ever answered?
Andrew Reynolds.
Nice.
He was talking about Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. And I was like, oh, well, how much did you make off that? He was like, oh, like 160 grand. And I was like, whoa, this is the first dude that's answered how much he's made off of something. And I'm like, and that opened up the whole interview.
Right.
I'm like, oh, well, now I have the freedom.
Yeah.
Because I know that he's like an open book.
Yeah.
And now those are the interviews where I'm like, okay, this is great. Like once they're on it, but you know, when you close off, it changes the whole dynamic of something.
What do you think that is with skateboarders and those particular questions being answered?
I don't know. It's weird.
Like, would you lose your sponsors if you told people how much money you made?
When you were growing up skating,
Yeah.
would you talk about money with other skateboarders? Because
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because I was never a flex. I never had enough. I never had like if I had said, hey man, I'm making fucking $2,000 a month, it's not really much to brag about.
Yeah. But I
And
think
when I got paid off ESPN in DC, I definitely told everybody because it was a deal that wasn't supposed to happen to me.
and that's kind of a different thing though. If you skated for Red Dragons and somebody else skated for Red Dragons and somebody else skated for Red Dragons, you wouldn't tell each
Right.
other how much you were making on
Right.
Red Dragons. It's like this unsaid thing.
Yeah.
Like, especially when I was growing up, like we didn't talk about how much we were each getting paid on the same company.
I feel like it was a little bit different for me because most of the people I hung out with were really successful. I was probably the lowest money maker out of everybody. So me bringing up my check gave my friends a giggle. You know?
Like, oh, you're almost
Yeah. Or when I got more money, then everyone like Danny and Colin would just pump for me.
right.
They're like, this fucking guy's getting paid like $6,000 a month from ESPN. Sometimes they didn't even do a show. And I'm like, yeah, right. And everyone's like, fuck yeah, Ellis. Like there was never
Yeah.
you're bragging. It was more like Ellis finally got a check and it's a
Right.
decent one. And everybody was happy. And I remember bringing it up. I knew it wasn't a rub in the face to anybody.
Yeah.
It was more like, fuck yeah, man. You actually got, because none of us made, it was the biggest people that made all the money. And then there was, I make enough to not get a job.
Sure.
It's pretty cool.
And that's all we
was
hope
very-
for as skateboarders.
Yeah.
Just, I don't want to be working at a desk job or McDonald's or some shit.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the people that made a lot of money, they inspired me to want to try and do something similar. If I hadn't heard about that, I probably wouldn't have been interested in it because I just wanted to skate and get enough money to skate. And then a couple of my friends like got a chain and I was like, oh man, how much is a chain? And they're like, this much. And I'm like, fuck that.
Right.
And then I started making some money where I was like, hey, I could get that chain. I'm almost with you guys now.
Yeah.
I'm on the budget tip of like being a rich, famous guy. It was always a pat on the back for me.
To me, it was always like, okay, that's not obtainable. Like I don't deserve what these guys deserve, but
Yeah.
also like, how is it obtainable? How do you get these deals?
Yeah.
How is it that skateboarding is so tiered out? It's like
Right.
top tier, middle tier, lower tier. And like, if you're in the lower tier, like good fucking luck getting up even into the middle tier.
I think you're actually right when it comes to the money thing, because Bill Weiss told me how much money he was making a year ago is when he told me.
And you're talking about like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like, he was making.
And he goes, I was making this much. And he's like, how much were you? He's like, you guys were making way more. I'm like, wait, you were Bill Weiss. You were skating with me. He's like, dude, I was making about this much and you were in that other upper echelon. And I'm like, I'm not. No, I'm not. And he's like, how much did you make back then? And I told him, and he's like, dude, I was making like $1,600 a month for
right.
fucking 10 years. Like that was as much as I could get. And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, I was.
So you were like middle to upper tier?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was only hanging out with Danny and Colin and they were rich.
Right.
So
They were upper tier.
I was poor according to my life. Like everybody I hung out with was Tony. Money is no object. I mean, he's not that rich, but to me at the time, money was no object to him. Bam. You know, these guys were buying Lamborghinis around me. And I heard a story where he walked into a Lamborghini store and gave a check for $500,000 and said, just send me the change, and drove off. So I'm listening, you know what I mean? I'm making good money.
Right.
But my friend over here just gave he found his $500,000 check.
He carried that check around crumpled up in his pocket
Yeah.
for about a week before he
Yeah.
finally gave it to. I remember his girlfriend or wife, I forget which was the time, going like, bam, put that check away. You got to stop waving that check around. Like, it was crazy.
Scrunched up.
Yeah.
$500,000. Didn't know what to do with it.
That's
And then spent it in the most ridiculous. Like, I don't know how much more they would have charged him for that maneuver, but I can tell you it was for sure like a $50,000 floater of like,
yeah, I
you
think he paid extra for purple paint for sure.
yeah.
oh my God.
So when you hang out with people like that
Right.
and you make, 10, 15 grand a month, you're like, I'm nothing. You know, like,
But you still want the chain.
yeah. Yeah, the chain. Well, Red Dragon got me one, and that was very handy. But then I bought a bigger one because it was my time to flex.
Right.
Like I got some ESPN DC
Right.
money, and I was like, I'll buy my own one.
Yeah.
And then, show up, and they're like, oh, man, you bought your own one? I'm like, mm-hmm. They're like, wow, fucking you going to pay for dinner? I'm like, yeah, I would.
yeah.
It was like being a part of finally being a part. Even like Vegas, they walk past the blackjack table and they throw 100 on anything. I'm like, you're not even fucking looking at the table after you threw it. I can't believe that. Because they were on this other tip, and because they were young with no kids, you're making $500,000 a year, and you probably don't even know what taxes are.
Right.
So the money was just like spent in a way where you acted like you had millions.
I think a lot of people act like they have a lot of money.
A lot of skateboarders do that.
Especially nowadays with social media. I think it's a lot of look at me, but I don't really. It's a lease or it's fake or I don't know.
Which is even crazier to know that if you're a skateboarder, you don't have longevity. Like, think about how many guys that are in their 50s that are still their job.
Yeah.
It's like Tony Hawk and Mike. It's like fucking 5 people.
Right.
The rest of them are got jobs or they own a piece of the industry, but your skateboarding is not getting you any money. And to know that these guys, a 10-year run is insane to get that. And you're spending more than you make.
It's a problem.
It seems like a lot of skateboarders, not everybody. Like I feel like Andy McDonald didn't spend all his money. I know Steve Caballero is very fucking tight with his money. He talks about it where he's like, I don't fucking spend anything. So I'm assuming, I don't know, he's probably got a lot of money. And he probably had a lot of money in the 80s and the 90s. Like he was ready to be bumped that whole time. And now he still makes more money and he still doesn't spend it.
Well, those guys also in the 80s and stuff, they were selling like 20,000 boards a month.
Yeah.
At like, what, $2 royalties?
Tony at one point, he said that POW were the number one selling skateboards in the world and the Tony Hawk board was the number one selling board on POW. So he had, for years, it's like 10 boards that everybody bought and his one was the number one board. So his royalties were just crazy. But he told me he didn't pay taxes. Didn't know.
Oh,
First time round, they're like, you realize you
you gotta.
got to pay taxes on that. And he's like, what are you talking about? Back taxes. So he got, if he doesn't know, then and then everybody doesn't know.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people give you that advice.
I was gonna say.
Not many pros go, hey man, I saw you just turn pro for so and so. You know what you want to do with that is blah 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 blah. It's not a lot of that.
And I was gonna say, I think it's maybe not the company's responsibility, but I think it's also the company's responsibility.
Fuck yeah.
To be like, hey, we're going to give you this check. You're an independent contractor, by the way. Save half of that check because you're going to need it at the end of the year.
Yep.
When I first got
none of them tell you that.
I got money. I'm going to pay rent. I'm going to pay rent. And then at the end of the year, I'm like, oh, I mean, I'm check to check guy, so I'm like, oh,
skateboard way, man.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I owe money.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, that happened to me too. I didn't pay taxes for 5 years. Didn't know.
Right.
I had a business manager and an agent, and they were all running my shit. All I did was just go to the ATM, live my life. And then all of a sudden, I had a girlfriend that got read a letter in the mail because I don't even read the letters in the mail. And she's like, you got back taxes. I'm like, back taxes for what? She's like, for the money you've made. I'm like, I got a business manager. They pay that. She's like, no, this is a thing saying that you've already been penalized. Like, and then I lost my house. I lost everything.
Wow.
Yeah. I sold my house to pay the taxes off, and then I had penalties, back taxes. So I moved in with my girlfriend's parents.
How many years over the span of how many years?
This is right when I moved to LA to try and be a radio host. So when I moved to LA, I had penalties to pay, and I paid them for a couple of years, maybe 4 or 5 years, maybe longer, man.
Huh.
And then I got divorced and gave her all that money. So then I had to pay back taxes, penalties on, because I couldn't afford taxes. I could only afford to give her half of my money. So then I had it more. And then I got out of that 6 months before I got let go from SiriusXM. So like at one point, my business manager goes, you are in the clear and you have money in savings. You are officially out and you can do whatever you want now. And I was like, fuck yeah. And I was like, contract's coming up soon, so things are looking good. And then, no.
That's it.
Yeah. But, man, so I'm just so glad that I didn't owe and get fired. Because I'm like, man, that would be so, I'd be so broke. I'd be like, man, how am I going to get out of living and paying back these things? So it's after all that stuff, but I can't learn it any other way. Same with skateboarding. Like, how do I do it? I've slammed on every trick I've ever done.
Right.
I've slammed on a fucking rock to fakie. Sorry, guys, but that's like the most basic thing ever that you should never slam on. I fucking took a digger on one of those before, and I'm like, I take a digger, but lesson learned. Mm-hmm. So to me, it was like, when you get paid, pay your fucking taxes at all costs. That shit is serious.
Yeah.
But I couldn't learn it from somebody passing down the wisdom. I had to learn it by, oh, wow. That's bad. But I feel like a lot of skateboard people get that. They really don't get it. Like the amount of advice skateboarders get in skateboarding, but not financial advice, is pretty crazy.
Well, I think it's mostly coming from your peers.
And they're bad.
Are you going to... Which peers are you trusting for financial advice?
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
I will be honest. I feel like I've probably had like people like Steve Caballero try to help me. And I've thought, your tone, I don't appreciate your tone. You're talking to me like I'm a child. I don't want to learn anything from you. You know what I mean? You're too fucking serious.
Yeah.
When in actual fact, like, no, Jason, that was the one time you were supposed to listen.
Right. Well,
he's talking all boring. He's talking, pay attack. I don't, you seem lame. Yeah. I don't want to hear about it.
It's like a variation on the whole thing. Like when you need advice and when you ask a bartender or a priest for advice, you've already made up your decision. You're just looking for confirmation.
Right.
It's like, are you going to ask the guy who looks like he's having an awesome time, who has a sweet car and a sick bimbo girlfriend? Or are you going to ask Steve Caballero? Like if you're 18 years old, the decision's fairly obvious.
Sure. You asked Jason Ellis.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was watching Colin McKay get into his fucking S550 and a bunch of gold chains with diamonds on it and a Rolex, and I was like, yeah, well, this is You get the money, fucking.
Yeah, you were thinking about spending more than you were making,
Right,
not putting half of it away.
Whoa.
Sure.
Fuck yeah.
More money you make, the more money you spend.
Yeah.
There's
Which is not. I've heard Shaq, the great Shaquille O'Neal, talk about what you should do with your money. A wise man told him at the start of his career, you put this much in here, and then this is the bit that you live on. And I was like, well, if he really lived by that from the start, then
he's good.
he's solid.
Right.
But
They're probably solid enough to stop doing those stupid General commercials.
I think he might be a little bit of a he might really like money because those commercials are painful.
Oh, yeah. It's
Go ahead.
hard for skaters, though. I think we get paid so little. How do you save money when you're just getting by to buy food and pay rent?
Yeah.
It's tough.
And you've made this commitment to skateboarding that makes all risks seem less intimidating.
Yeah.
Like I've already made this commitment where I'll die today if I have to make this. So I don't care about taxes. You don't sweat me.
Right. Well, I think you're doing what you love to do first and foremost. And I think every skater has different situations. But I think majority of the skateboarders out there today live check by check.
Yeah.
And it's very hard. A lot of pro skaters have another job.
I've noticed that with the vert guys. It really bums me out.
It
Like Zach Miller and
It's sad.
Jimmy Wilkins and all those guys, Mitchie Brusco, they don't drive around in Mercedes-Benz and shit. And what they do right now is fucking incredible.
They should be getting paid a lot of money.
Right.
And they don't. It blows my mind.
But they're all looking for an energy drink sponsor because vert guys are still uncool.
Yeah.
So they're like, is there any dumb corporate people out here that want to give me a giant amount of money for a sticker on my board that isn't going to pay off? I'm sorry, but it never works.
Right.
Is that ever going to change? I mean, you've been saying that for a while. I feel like ever since street skating really established itself, vert has just been like the second division.
Well, it's park now that seems to be the bigger competitive
Yeah.
thing, but I don't think competitive skateboarding is a big part of skateboarding.
It is, but it isn't. Like the road to the Olympics was big, but it's only big for this people over here.
Right.
There's a whole industry that's like core over here. So they don't care about contests. They're trying to just film video parts.
And the kids don't care either.
Right.
The kids like those video park guys way more. Still, correct?
Sometimes. Yeah.
Is there a newer guy or a girl that is a competitive skateboarder that is still popular to the non-competitive skateboarder?
I think there's a lot now. I mean, you got like Zion Wright, you got like Jamie Foy, but they're not really like Zion was the Olympics. I think there are.
Okay.
I don't think it's a lot.
Right.
I don't think it's a lot.
The video park guys are still the guys.
I would say so, but a lot of the video park guys they're doing street leagues too.
Okay.
So there's tiers to it also.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Street League, you're the announcer.
I'm not.
You were.
I just did a couple recently, last couple street leagues.
Oh.
That was it. They just brought me in for Utah and one down here in LA or something.
Not permanent.
Uh-uh.
Do you want that gig or did you like that gig? It's tough, isn't it?
It's not. It's interesting.
Yes.
You know about it.
Yes.
You've got somebody in your ear.
Yes.
that's
Wait,
talking
you've
to
got
you.
somebody in your ear at Street League?
Yeah,
But you're fucking you.
I know. But
I got it at X Games. They're ESPN. They don't know any better. But Street League they're the core run it. Rob Dyrdek runs it.
But they're mainly telling me like, you got 30 seconds. Okay, go over here.
Okay,
they're giving me directions.
Not ask a question.
No.
Okay, fine.
If they asked me to ask something, I probably wouldn't ask it.
Is there somebody in your ear who is not a hardcore skateboarder?
I don't. I think they're not. Sometimes, yes. I don't think they're hardcore skateboarder. I think they're just running the production.
Do you find it like when you interview people, are you a little bit like, man, I would rather be on the other end of this microphone? Like, I don't like being
I don't want to be interviewed.
Do you find a lot of other guys and girls think the same way?
I think so. I think in situations like that too, and I think that's why they wanted to try to bring me in.
Right, because you're friends with them, and if you go, hey man, can you talk to me for a second?
Right.
Like if I'm at a contest and you're there, and I'm like, hey man, these fucking assholes that got me over here interrogating you guys while you're trying to do your shit.
Right.
can you throw me a bone?
Totally.
And you'd be like, all right, hey, Ellis, fuck yeah, man. I'm
Dude,
trying to do
and that's
my
how I
best.
feel actually at those events. I'm like, dude, can you just come over?
Right.
The last thing I want to do is fuck these people up.
Right. You want
in
them
their
to
contest run.
Yeah.
I don't want to, because listen, I'm not going to ask them, oh man, that was a great back lip there. What are you going to try to do on your neck?
Right, because that's what they want you to say.
I'm asking them about, hey, what do you think of the color of that rail?
Yeah.
It's red.
Yeah.
If you could paint that rail any color, what color would you paint?
Yeah.
Those are the shit that I'm asking, because I don't care about what trick you're going to do next.
You're interviewing them to find out, show people a little bit about who they are.
I just want to have fun.
So does everybody
I just wanna have
watching.
fun. And that's what it is. Skateboarding's fun.
I feel like the Supercross guys have the same thing where they've just got it wrong. They just interview the guy and he says, my tires, my Dunlops, or my fucking Suzuki is doing this, and the team. And I'm like, I know who you're sponsored by. It's all over you. What are you doing? What do you feel like right now? And they never get to that. It's always so corporate that I love Supercross. I find it difficult to watch.
Right.
I go, oh God, now I'm going to do a segment where you're going to show me about, like your wife on Instagram. I'm like, your wife's great, I'm sure, but I fucking came here to watch your race.
But can we say this about the rest of the world too? It's like, oh, the red carpets, like who are you wearing?
Yeah.
What's going on? It's like, I want to know what you had for breakfast.
But
like,
we're so close to doing a better job. I feel like yourself, the angle that you're trying to talk to these competitors about is an angle as a guy watching. Yeah, you guys are friends. You have a relationship, and I'm seeing a little side of whoever it is that you're interviewing. You've got a score of this in your last ride. What are you gonna do next to up your score? All of us, my parents' have seen this fucking interview already.
Right.
Ask, like, especially when they get you. Or they get me.
Right.
Like when I get interview Bucky, I've done the same thing, man. Like the guy's going to win the X Games. He's got one ride left. He does not want to talk to me.
And the last thing you want to do is fuck him up.
Right. And I'm like, hey, and I've known this guy for fucking 20 years and I'm still like, talk? And he's like, yeah, for you, I will do it. And then somebody in my ear goes, hey, man, he got a 7.5. And I'm like, no, I will not ask him. Like hey man, you realize if you don't make this ride, you're going to lose the whole X Games. What's going through your mind?
Right.
I'm not doing that.
No.
I'm just going to try to chat for a second like we're friends.
And I think that's what I want the viewer to see.
It would be better for all sports, not just skateboarding.
Right.
All of them.
Because, like, perfect example, at the Street League, I interviewed Tony Hawk. It's Tony Hawk. I know Tony Hawk. You know Tony Hawk. Probably any interviewer out there would love to get an interview with Tony Hawk.
Yeah.
Oh, Tony Hawk, man, I did this great interview with him. I didn't ask. I was having fun with him. I was like asking him what he would skate on the street course. Yeah. He thought I was talking about the ramp, but because I was talking about the rails and stuff, and he was like, "Oh, the vert." And I'm like, "No, what the thing?" I was totally fucking with him. I don't know if he was getting it. But I think he was getting it.
Okay.
But we were having fun.
Right.
And that's my type of interview. It's like, I don't need to know what Tony Hawk really thinks about the street course.
It's the craziest thing is you have other MCs that do the score thing.
Right.
And then they throw to you and they ask you to ask the same thing the announcers are doing. It's like, no, I'm on the floor to get an interview of shit that you didn't know about them.
Yeah. And you got to think on your feet when you're out there too. Because you got to really think about, well, what the hell am I going to talk to this person about?
Right.
It's like, Raíssa, the little girl, Brazilian.
Did she win?
She won the Utah X Games. She's won a bunch of them. She's great.
Yeah.
Amazing skateboarder.
How old again?
13.
Jesus Christ, they're fucking everywhere. Yeah.
She's brilliant.
Fuck little people.
But she doesn't speak that much English.
Oh, okay.
She won, and I'm sitting there like, I can't. What am I gonna interview her with?
They don't have the UFC interpreter standing by.
Right. And so I'm like, right then on my feet, I was like, hey, congratulations for winning. Do you want to say anything to the crowd in Portuguese? And she was like, and there was a big Portuguese fan base there.
Yeah.
Crowd goes wild. It was like perfect.
Yeah.
And like, that was just me thinking on my feet of like, how am I going to do this?
Yeah. Good choice.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was brilliant.
Yeah.
Not saying that I'm brilliant, but you know what I mean? Like those types of situations.
I mean, it is, if you compared to who else you're going to hire, it is brilliant. You know, if you get a TV personality to do that interview.
Like, would he try to go through
Fuck no.
this just,
He'd give it to you corporate.
yeah,
Simple as that.
yeah.
Well, look, dude, I feel like
interesting.
I really wish you would do more of that.
Oh,
I don't
thank
know
you.
if I think you're a great person for skateboarding, you know,
Oh,
like
thank you.
as it's important to be, you're a good skateboarder and if kids ask you for stuff, I'm sure you're helpful your whole career.
Yeah, of course.
But these things it's an accident, but it's very important what you do. You know, like as a person that's felt outside, hearing your show and hearing the way you guys talk made me feel like I'm welcome there.
Right.
The tone is an understanding tone. Like, yeah, we're fucking some of the elite guys, but everybody who's in skateboarding is cool, man. Like,
It takes a village.
yeah,
I think skateboarding, I think the one thing that I want for skateboarding at the corporate level is skateboarders doing it.
right.
That's what I want. I think
Me too.
skateboarding has a ton of talented people,
Agreed.
ton of them. We should be the ones hosting the Olympics, doing stuff like that,
Agreed.
X Games, stuff like that. That we need to be filming those things.
Yep.
Get the filmers who film skateboarding at those events, at the Olympics,
Todd Richards,
we're filled with talented people.
that guy, proper snowboarder, whole career, saved the Olympics, in my opinion. Did you see a guy, Japanese guy, had a run flawless and the score was low? And Todd Richards fucking went animal on
Really?
the mic. Yeah.
Like through multiple commercial breaks.
Ah,
Like, and we're back. And as I was saying when we left, what the
This is
fuck?
disgusting.
Really?
Yeah, I'm disgusted by the
just
judge.
recently.
Yeah, and called out the judge that gave him the lowest score.
US
and it was
judge.
an American judge.
Ah,
And then the dude made another ride. Thank God he made another ride.
okay.
And then they gave him the correct score and he got gold. But it wouldn't have happened if you didn't have somebody that was there for snowboarding's sake.
Yeah,
Like he was like, you could fucking fire me.
right.
I could hear it in his voice. Fucking fire me if you have to. This is a travesty.
And-
And everybody needs to know.
And that's how I felt watching the Olympics, skateboarding. I felt these announcers were just horrible.
Really?
Yeah. Did you watch skateboarding in the Olympics?
I didn't listen to it. I
Oh my
watched it.
God.
I didn't watch anybody
yeah, but it's
talking.
still, there were so many networks covering the same thing. So they had like one or two actual skateboarders doing it, but then the rest, like the feed I was listening to was random two blokes talking.
Wow.
And they were calling people they were like, oh, Steve, what they call
I
Steve?
didn't know people's names.
Oh my God. It was
And you're the
crazy.
announcer and you don't know the name. How
I
the
was
fuck?
so livid.
Is
I
it
was
a-
mad?
Is it because of the money? Like, do these guys take it really cheap? Because Todd Richards, Sal Masakela, myself, a few other people that were the core of action sports at X Games pitched to them at one point. You got to drop these non
Right.
in the game guys and let us do it. And I remember like being in a meeting where I was like, this is being proposed in a very professional manner. This could actually go somewhere.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, not even close. I see
Really?
what you're trying to do and I'm not interested. I'm not trying to shit on ESPN. They're doing their job.
Sure.
But I could tell that our idea we could be wrong, but I also felt like there was a handful of us that really are passionate about all those sports, know a lot about it, and were prepared to take less money to give X Games a fucking really good look.
Right.
And they were like, oh, all of you in charge? You've got to be joking me.
Yeah.
And I was like-
for less pay, even.
Yeah. I was like, I'll do it for free.
Well, that's what I was going
I
to
was
say.
willing to do it for free
I was-
just to be like, can we make X Games look fucking awesome?
And I was going to say that for the Olympics. It's like they could have gotten a lot of talented skateboarders, filmers, photographers, announcers that would probably do it for dirt cheap
Yep.
just because they want to go to the Olympics
Yep.
and be there.
Because they love it and they
Yeah.
love what's happening. And that's what you want to hear. A guy that's passionate about like baseball, football. Imagine if the announcer could give a fuck.
Mm.
And it's the game you care about the most. Like, what the fuck are we doing here?
But isn't normal sport like you have John Madden announcing football? You have these ex-basketball players announcing basketball.
which are excellent.
Right.
Those guys are excellent.
Right.
I don't even really watch it, but fucking Shaq and Barkley.
Barkley, yeah.
Oh,
That show is
TNT.
That's it.
it's the best.
Without those two, I don't give a fuck.
Right.
Who this dude doesn't play shit? No offense to the people that don't play. I know that there's John Anik in the UFC, doesn't fight, does an excellent job. Very necessary. But he's somebody that, if he was the skateboard version of that, we would all, like Sal Masakela. Sal Masakela's not a pro skateboarder, but he fucking loves it.
Yeah.
And he's fucking in it, and he knows us all. And when he talks about it, he talks about it with passion.
And that's the thing, is like us as skateboarders, like we know that about Sal Masakela, but we trust him.
Right.
If
Because
Sal
you know he's paid his dues.
Yeah.
I remember when he first started, I was like, fuck this guy. You don't just get in for free. Like, you don't just walk in and start being us.
Right.
You need to pay your dues. And then he did.
Yeah.
Took a lot of shit. Gigantic skate park tour. I fucked with that guy so hard. Made him drop in a vert demo. He fucking killed himself.
No.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And then the next demo, he tried to do it again. I completely forgot about this. And Tony told me, he's like, I'm going to drop in for the next demo. Because the demo where he dropped in, it was nobody skated anymore. I was on the transition going, you can do it. You're going to come on, crowd. Let's get into it. And the crowd, he made the drop in eventually. And the crowd went ape shit like Tony did a 900.
Is he padding up and everything?
Oh, yeah. Fully padded.
Right.
Because he took a couple of whoppers on the way down on this ramp. But it was all of us and thousands of people just for Sal to make this drop in on a legit vert ramp. It was definitely hard for him. So the next demo, he could, the juices of that crowd. He's like, I'm going to do it again. I'm like, you should do it again. Fucking, it's a wrap for Sal Masakela.
Oh my God.
So he was always willing to
love that.
to give it a go. That's why we all.
Yeah.
Well, you love it. If you love it, I don't care how good you are at it.
Right.
You're in.
You don't have to be a pro skateboarder to, love skateboarding.
Just have to love it like
Yeah.
a pro does.
Exactly.
Yeah, we accept you.
Yeah. It's fun.
So for you to be on the show, man. I
Hey.
really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Everybody should check out his show. If you don't skate, the 9 Club is still an awesome show. If you want to know a little bit more about skateboarding, maybe your kids are getting into it and you don't want to be a clueless dad or mom, listen to these guys. These guys are the gateway to knowing everything about skateboarding. They got everybody on there from all fucking levels of everybody. The freshest little shithead to the fucking old man Witherby over here, like talking about the science of making a fucking skateboard. Paul Schmidt is the greatest dude ever, by the way.
Shout out Paul Smith.
Every time I go to his warehouse, he tells me another story about wood and the bending and the glue.
That man has more energy than I do.
Right.
We just went there and made. First of all, this guy can make a skateboard in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
From nothing into a beautiful skateboard.
Yeah.
15 minutes.
It's incredible. His passion is incredible.
I was done by the hour 2. I'm like, okay, I'm exhausted. He started making another skateboard.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
In the best way possible.
Yeah, in the most awesome
Oh
way
my God,
possible. But
it's
yeah,
great.
to know when you see somebody like that and then they give you the board, it just means so much more.
Well, if you
This guy put his
know,
heart and soul into this board. Here you go, Jason. I made 4 just for you. And I'm like, these are fucking gems.
you almost don't even want to skate him.
Yeah. No, I've got him just sitting there like, I'm like, what are we going to do the next one? It's awesome.
I know.
I'm in such a great pocket right now when it comes to skateboarding. I've never been more grateful to be.
I love it.
Yeah, it's
I love
awesome.
it.
Thanks for being on the
Hey.
show, dude. What's your Instagrams and all that shit?
You're at Chris Roberts.
At Chris Roberts.
Glad Tully could remind you of what your Instagram is.
And I'm not a big Instagrammer. I'm not.
Oh, okay.
But I have it. I use it. I lurk. I'm not posting every day.
Okay.
And then the 9 Club YouTube channel.
Right. And then the 9 Club experience. Is there more than
Yes,
How does that
Mondays
all
and 9. Well, it's all under one umbrella.
Okay, so
9
you-
Club. If you go to the 9 Club YouTube channel or our website, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And we don't have any merch to give you, but this is our
Yeah, if you go to a
our
strip club,
standard gift to
Wow.
guests that come by is about like $42 and
but you,
Can't spend it all in one
you
place.
have
Looks like
to
a
you
lot
have
of
to
work.
dance on the table and then we throw it at you. That's how you receive it.
When the cameras are off.
Yes, obviously.
we will throw it at your naked butt.
That's the page. That's the
We
page.
had to do it to him. We had to do it to him. We're almost in the clear. We didn't do any fucking naked fucking gay jokes, but there it is. All right.
Shit.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
See you next week, everybody. Don't die. Good for you, Kevin.
Boy.
boom.
If you want more Jason Ellis Show, sign up for their Patreon at patreon.com/EllisMate for a 2-hour show every Tuesday and Wednesday. To watch full episodes of The Jason Ellis Show, subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/The Jason Ellis Show. And don't forget to follow the crew on Instagram at Wolfmate, at Tullywood, at Kevin Kraft, at Underwear Wolf, and at The Jason Ellis Show.